Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good.
How's your week been, man? You had a good holiday season?
I did. I had a great holiday season. I got to do a lot of dad stuff. I didn't get to do very much dad bought stuff. But I mean, that's what breaks are for. So I'm fortunate. I live in DFW and we have like the largest metroplex. I've got family all over. So a lot of jumping around, but it's good to be able to see everybody. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah, I had a good holiday season, man. Yeah, two of my kids were out of town with their mother. They went to go see their grandfather on their mother's side, but so it was just me and my youngest one. And yeah, we had a good time. I actually celebrated Christmas a week early in my house, and the kids were pretty excited. I think I won Christmas this year. I got them one of those VR headsets, and
my 11-year-old got one as well, and then a few days later I decided that I needed one. So
well, I don't have my kids full time, so I get plenty of dad time with the VR headset. So whenever, during the week when I don't have them, I usually get on and play around, every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see like justifying like getting a second one and playing multiplayer games and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there will be a lot of metaverse visitation in the future. I know that's what I love about my kids gaming is I can jump into Fortnite or Rocket League, either it's with my 19-year-old or with my 11-year-old, whether they're their moms, and it's a luxury. A lot of people give dads or parents a hard time about the time their kids spend on games, or if you're a grown up and you play video games. But man, there's not a lot of other scenarios where I get to stay that connected with my kids and have such a good time on such a regular basis.
Yeah, you get to be in the same clan.
That's right.
And know who they're hanging out with and talking to, and yeah. You gotta change with the times too. I mean, we were playing different games and ditch and guns and running around and playing street football. I mean, if you had a big brother or a dad that, two dads that decided to be quarterbacks, what I would do is, I'm 8 years difference in my siblings. So me and my best friend would be the quarterback for all the neighborhood kids. And we would, go against each other. And those are the kind of things, So it was fun. So it's not a little different.
I mixed them too with the throwback, thinking about my childhood in the same way, because that's what we did. We played in the ditch, we played guns, and if I told you I shot you, then I shot you.
It's an argument. It's an argument. Bam, bam, boom, boom. Yeah.
It's like, there's no way. No, I got you. But I got two of my other boys new BMX bikes, and we've got a really great skate park here in Roanoke, which is one of the things we didn't have when we were kids. If I had this skate park when I was growing up, my parents would never see me ever, unless it was to take me to the hospital.
I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see that compound fracture right here.
Yeah.
2 plates, 12 screws, the bone snapped in half, and I used to skate aggressive rollerblading when I was like 16, and I jumped up on a wall and feet went up in the air, put my arm back, and you know what I mean? I can only imagine. I'm sitting there laying there and my arm is like mangled in 4 different ways. And my older brother shows up to the scene. It was at night and he's like, who pushed you? You know what I mean? And my mom's like crying and the firefighter's like, don't cry because you're going to make him cry. And I'm just sitting here going, man. So yeah, I can't imagine what it was like for my dad when we would get hurt all the time and have to go to the hospital. So
That's wild. I guess I got a similar story. My parents had just gotten me a new bike for Christmas, and it was a White Bear racing bike, and I just started racing BMX at the local track. And I signed myself up. My parents hardly knew what I was doing or anything about BMX, but they knew I wanted this bike, and they got it for me. And it weighed like 5 pounds, maybe. And I was going through a drainage ditch, jumped, and I landed right on my front wheel, and it spun me right, and my whole face right into the ground. I had like a double concussion, and I woke up and I didn't recognize any of the kids around me. They were all my best friends, but dude, I hauled Bud home. I was sitting in my grandmother's living room, and she knew I was messed up, and she was trying to figure out if she needed to call the ambulance. And it's when I told her, I said, I need a bike like that when I start racing. And she was like, oh my God, he's out of it. So it's a wonder we survived.
yeah, my aunt bought me K2 backyard bob skates. You know what I mean? That were like the thing you wanted as a kid. She got it to me for Christmas, and I skated with those for a couple of months, and I was just getting up on handrails, and then I break my arm, and I went through a growth spurt when I was 16. So I outgrew those. So I never skated again after that, in a sense. Like, but then I got into mixed martial arts and I started cage fighting and doing all this other stuff. So it kind of got even more extreme. Now I'm an old man, but I've got broken teeth and broken fingers. But that's kind of the extreme things of going and pushing the envelope. But now it's like, what do you do to get those kids? Like for me, I'm more risk averse for my kids. Like, okay, get your knee pads and your elbow pads. And I'm like, trying not to be that hover parent, because I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I don't know, I want them to fall and get hurt, but I just don't want to go to the ER. You know what I mean? So I think that's a little selfish of me, but
yeah, there's definitely something. There's definitely something about boys. Like I had 2 older sisters, and I don't think either of them saw the inside of an emergency room until they were like 40 years old. And it was me. I think I've been to the emergency room like 4 or 5 times before I was 13. You know, getting fish hooks out of me, and you know, I got a whiplash one time. I got a concussion. There's always something that I had to. I lost count of how many times I've personally been to the emergency room. But luckily, I never like had any serious injuries like you guys. Like I used to skateboard, and my thing was I would skateboard. I would do a handstand. I would skateboard. I would kind of showboat and skateboard on my hands. And I knew it was just a matter of time before I cheese graded.
Well, yeah, you're a little different, man. I never did stuff like that.
I did that. I never once like landed on my face though. I never used the helmet. So I think I just got lucky with the skateboarding, you know, but I hurt myself in other ways. You know, I always found a way into the emergency room one way or another.
Well, I love what Jordan B. Peterson says. He goes, if your child is doing something dangerous and they're doing it carefully, you have to let them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to be that what is it, not the sinister mother or whatever it is that keeps their kids in the nest, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson. I'm like 15 pages from his second book, Beyond Chaos, and I got to see him a couple months ago come here to speak, and I've watched his he went off on a tangent. You know how he does. He's over there and he goes for 30 minutes, and like I look over at my buddy and we're watching him, and my buddy's like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I was like, well, if you haven't read his second book, which is like, you know, his first book, The 12 Rules of Life's like high school, but his second book is like college. You know what I mean? You have to read it over and over again just to kind of keep where he's going. And it was funny to watch him go down the rabbit hole in person. And I'm like, but man, he's a national treasure for sure. So
totally. Yeah. You're reminding me how much I need to get back into reading. I'm terrible about it. And I know, and I think your previous episode, you're going through some of your learnings from a book you just went through. And it's, that's why I love podcasts, is my ADHD brain. I can go out, do the yard work, pop you guys in, and I'm good for an hour and a half, and I can't imagine doing yard work any other way. So,
a lot of Jocko Willink when I had an acre and a half back in Virginia. It was the same thing. It was just awesome. So,
yeah, that's the only way that I can like maintain my sanity while doing yard work, is to have a podcast going in my ear, one way or another. I gotta have some kind of information coming in my ear, or when I'm at work, I usually have one ear pod in. I love podcasts. I mean, I wish I would have discovered podcasting sooner. Honestly, around the time that I met Brian is when I really got into listening to podcasts. I think it was like 2018, 2019. I had just started listening to Joe Rogan Experience, and then that's the same time that I met Brian, and he mentioned something about Joe Rogan. I was like, I love Joe Rogan, and that's where we connected, and we just went from there.
Yeah, a couple of dads that met each other because their wives became, the spouses kind of became friends or whatever, and then we were like, how you meet another dad from a friend from your significant other, and you're like, oh, let's see how this guy is. And I'm in the military and he's a civilian, so it was kind of like I'm already kind of got my walls up, you know what I mean, a little bit, because I have a tight circle. And then once we started talking, kind of the same thing. Now it's like, okay, I like this guy. So, and then we kind of bonded through that. And go on, Andrew. I don't want to.
Oh no, you hit the nail on the head. You're fine. But yeah, 100%. And then it's kind of ironic. We bonded through podcasting, and then just we were very like-minded, and we always trying to self-improve, trying to improve each other, and then eventually Brian had the idea, like, hey, why don't we start a podcast? And that terrified me. I'm like, that is so outside of my comfort zone, doing
Good.
what we're doing right here. And I was like, and that's exactly why I was 100% on board. I'm all about pushing myself outside of my boundaries. What's the worst that could come from this, right?
And I got him in jiu-jitsu, so that was a good thing too.
Yeah,
I'd be more worried about that.
yeah.
Especially across from Brian, you're going to face him. So.
Yeah, I was late to it. He was teaching a class. I showed up late, and he put the hurt on me one time.
Yeah, I made him my surfboard for a couple of minutes, but it's all good. Gave him a hug.
But as far as I'm right there with you. You said that you struggle on staying consistent with reading. That's been my biggest struggle, is sitting down and opening the book. I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks. I think my Audible account has like 80 something books on it right now. But right now, Brian and I and a couple of our buddies, we're doing the 75 hard. We just started a few days ago, and that encompasses working out twice a day, drinking a gallon of water, reading 10 pages out of a book, sticking to a diet, and I feel like I'm missing one thing.
No alcohol. But the hardest thing, it should be called 75 hard hydration, because I had no idea how hard it is to drink a gallon. You send me that video of the lady being kind of spoofing, like, 1 second, I got to go to the bathroom. This is kind of how it's been. My wife is like, dude, you're driving me nuts at night because you wake up 3 times but I had no idea. I'm 40 years old and I didn't know how dehydrated I was. And drinking water has made me feel like I'm 25 again. My mind is on fire. It's like a raging storm, like Elon Musk says, especially when I'm trying to fall asleep. And Karridy, you're probably the same way. You talk about the ADHD and the things, you probably a dreamer. You have all these things you're going on, and it's just like nonstop for me. I can't, when I read, I have a hard time because I start thinking of other things and I have to like bring myself back in, because I just read the stuff, but I didn't process any of the stuff. So I think, the audiobooks are good, and I don't think it's cheating at all. So don't think that, the 75-day hard thing has to be 10 pages, because I could, rather than 10 pages, I could listen to a whole book probably in a day. So.
Yeah. And I recently read, I started reading and then I switched to audiobook. It was Sean M. Warner's, Lee Howard and the Ghost System in Pierce Manor. He was my first guest on my podcast, and he was an author who went viral on TikTok. Someone walked up and he was kind of at a lonely book signing, and the guy said, hey, I'll take one of your books. You mind if I share it on TikTok? Next thing you know, within 48 hours, he was the #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's wild, man. It's an incredible story, but this was his debut novel. And when I read it, my problem is my brain wants to render out every scene he describes. And I can't do all the things I can at the speed at which my eyes are moving. So I'm like you, I'm a page later and I'm like, what did I just read? Because my brain is like trying to fabricate this environment. So the audiobook, it really doesn't give me the option to do that for some reason or another. I know it's all the same material, but yeah, that's helpful for me.
I think it's easier to process. It's probably easier to process sound than it is for the visual to put, you know what I mean? Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
No, 100%. I was you just made exactly the point I was about to hit on. Is one thing I started doing this past week with the 75 hard challenge. I'm holding myself accountable to reading 10 pages a day, and I have the same problem. I'll read a paragraph and then I have to reread the paragraph, and my mind starts thinking of all the things that I really need to be doing or making checklists while I'm reading. For whatever reason, like you couldn't be this productive when I was trying to watch TikTok or something like, you know, but what I started doing was actually reading it aloud. And that I noticed, I feel like, cause I'm listening to myself say the words and it's like I'm narrating it to myself. And I figure, you know, it seems like I can stay focused a little bit longer doing that. And also it's given me the ability to narrate a little bit better. I think, you know, the more I do that, the better I'm going to get at reading aloud. Because I don't know about you, but there's been times I'm reading my daughter a book and I feel like a first grader trying to read it out loud to her, and I'm like, I'm going word by word. And it's just because I'm not used to reading aloud. I haven't done that in so long. But it's like anything else. You practice it, you're going to get better at it. But that does seem to make a difference for me, is actually reading aloud. And then I can, like, when I feel like I'm starting to lose focus, I'll start reading aloud, and I might start reading silently, and then I'll start reading aloud again. It kind of snaps me back into it.
I think that's a great trick. I never heard that, but you're right. When you're narrating something, and I'm reading to my kids, you have to read ahead and speak behind, right? Mm-hmm. Just so you make sure you don't end the sentence like, oh, that was supposed to be a question, which is, I think, right. English has a problem with. Like Latin languages, they have the upside down question mark on the front end, which kind of feels like HTML. You know, you're like, let me know what I'm getting into before I get into it. But reading ahead and speaking behind, it does force you to interpret it or ingest it differently. I think that's a great trick. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a strength too. You know, the tracking, your ability to track the words and the sentences too. A lot of people have issues when it comes to tracking and how fast you can do. And it's like a skill that if you don't continue to practice, like anything, it starts to atrophy. And like, so yeah, it is good. I think 75 hard is a good forcing you to do the 10 page, because I think that's what it's trying to do, is get you to be able to conquer that part of your mind and get better at that when it comes to processing and being in the present and not allowing your mind to go on fire like some of us that are very ambitious doing all these projects tend to do. It's good to just center, take a minute. You know, every man wants a study where he can have all the books and stuff and kind of Jordan Peterson it, right? Or J.R.R. Tolkien or C.S. Lewis kind of have that group of guys that they can talk about really cool things, you know what I mean, like the Inklings and stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with C.S. Lewis at all, but it's pretty cool. And that was one of the reasons why, you know, me and Andrew wanted to do this podcast. My journey with like learning things and listening to podcasts kind of started at the birth of my daughter. I was on night crew in the Marine Corps, and I'd get home around 1 or 2 in the morning. So I'd be taking care of this infant baby and feeding her, and she wouldn't allow me to play video games. So I had to like put on a podcast, like a podcast or an audio book. And I went through 7 books in a week. You know what I mean? Because this little girl somehow was like keeping me accountable. Like every time I started trying to play, you know, PUBG or something, it was like, you know how it is. I'm like almost at the end and she starts freaking out and I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. So I went down the journey of finding, Jordan Peterson and those other books. And then the podcasts like Impact Theory, where they talk about different books. And I'm like, okay, now all of a sudden I'm listening to a podcast and I'm writing down 15 books that I'm interested. And then I'll listen to, a YouTube video to see, is this something I want to go down the rabbit hole? And ever since then, meeting Andrew was like, he had that same spark. And one of my favorite sayings is, change your friends or change your friends.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? And so we said, you know what, let's go down this avenue. And it really, this podcast has helped us being from different sides of the country because of me, getting orders back to California has really allowed us to still have our friendship and actually cultivate it and grow it even more. So, you know what I mean? So it's been great.
Yeah. And then the fact that we were always having these in-depth conversations, we always seem, when you're talking to your guy friends, and sometimes you have these really interesting conversations, and you're like, man, I wish we would have recorded that, because I feel like we just dropped a lot of nuggets right there. And then there's got to be other guys like us that are interested in the things that we're interested in, and that's really was the origin of the podcast, and our original intention was to give other dads the opportunity to have a platform and to lift them up and give them a chance to share their story. And when I came across your TikTok channel, man, I felt like there was no better person that encompasses all the things that we look for in this podcast than you. So I mean, there's just so many, there's such a dynamic story that's being told on your on your TikTok channel. And it's like I'm super curious to hear your story and to give you a chance to tell it all in one place, because it's all kind of segmented on TikTok and back and forth. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different things. I mean, I've seen you helping veterans. You mentioned the author Sean. He was a veteran who became an author in his
That's
retirement.
right.
We're driving across the country from Texas to New York, and stopping in Kentucky in the middle and making connections to return a Marine's belongings to his family, and helping strangers, helping Taylor get tattoos removed from her face, so that she can feel
Man,
comfortable.
you have been watching a while.
I like
I'm telling you.
I like the stolen juice, the orange
Yeah,
juice one.
and
Where you just messed with
the
that
fact
kid.
that
That kid was like, "Oh man."
Yeah, and you helping small businesses. The Donut Paradise. You used your resources to help help out the storefront. I mean, there's so many different things. I don't want you to tell your story. I don't want to tell the whole story, but I would start from the genesis. I mean, like going back 2 years, I was looking. What actually was October 21. Is where it all started, right? I think you mentioned you had 400 followers, and now you're what? I think I checked it today, and you're at 240,000. So you've definitely impacted people and touched a lot of lives, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that have viewed your channel and heard your story. So I mean, I really just let's start from the beginning and go back to where it all started.
Well, first, let me say thank you. Man, I love the opportunity to be here and to talk to you guys. And I appreciate that you feel that, I align with your mission here in any way, shape, or form. So thank you. And it's been an honor. If I had to rewind it to the genesis, it's like any great decision I've ever made in my life. I really can't pinpoint the inception. And that's how I know I'm doing the right thing. It's like I've learned when I feel compelled to do something, don't, the good things come naturally. And the whole having a TikTok account was really to communicate better with my kids, or, at least stay relevant and be able to post some goofy videos that would probably embarrass them. Or just mess around with the latest filter, with my little kids. And I remember I bought a 1984 CJ7 for my son who had just turned 16. And the big thing on Jeeps is like to give him a name. and I wanted to name his Rowdy after the Dallas Cowboys mascot because my son looks like Rowdy. He's got this big melon and this afro, and I love you, Keegan, if you're listening. But he was cool with that, and I said, okay, well, the first one we get to, first one of us gets to 1,000, or maybe it was even 100 followers, and that's the only reason I had an account. And the dad bot was because when I play video games with my kids, I'm the bot. They're the good player. I'm practically an NPC. So there was no forethought in the moniker whatsoever. And so that's why when my content started to kind of take off is I just bought a house here in Roanoke, and inventory was really low. And so it was hard to find a place. I wanted to keep my kids in the same school because I've got 5, 3 of which are in elementary. Only 2 were in at the time. And I found a little house on a nice lot right in downtown. It was perfect, but it needed a lot of work. And so I knew I didn't have the tools to do all the jobs that were going to need to be done. And for some reason, I thought to go online and look at storage units, because a lot of times you'll see, tools, tool chest, and it's all in one spot. And I needed a deal because I didn't have a lot of money left after all my down payment and all that stuff. And I barely had enough money to spend on me, but I saw this storage unit, and I could tell that it wasn't a typical storage unit. I saw a Foot Locker in it, and it's that army green, probably the color, my jacket, you guys are familiar. And I saw a, what do you call it? Do you put the uniform in? The
Shadow
the
case.
bag.
Just a sea bag.
Yeah.
A big green sea bag canvas.
Yeah.
We call them sea bag. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And I saw shadow boxes. And I saw a painting of a flag. And I first I Googled that, and I was able to get a match on that, and that was like $800. I'm like, okay, all right. So this isn't just something forgot about. It's either a veteran falling on hard times, or he's gone and nobody knows this is here, or they know and his family can't afford to get it out. Who knows how much the bill is at this point? And so I'm like, man, if I get this for like $300-400, I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up, take it to the family, and I ended up getting into this auction, and it ended up costing me like $1,870 or something like that. I spent way more than I thought, because someone else was bidding me up, and I'm like, if it was someone that knew them, they could have just probably paid for the unit. The fact that they're bidding up told me that they're going to sell off this stuff, and I was like, that can't happen. So anyway, I bought that, and then the next 4 or 5 videos was me kind of going through that stuff and trying to find this veteran. And that's what kicked off the journey. I can go on from there, but that was the genesis.
Yeah. What was it like? Because I know, like in that one of the first 2 videos, you basically said, you said, hey guys, if I can get up, I'm at 400 followers right now. If I can get 1,000 followers, I can go live, and then maybe more people can hear my story, and then potentially help me find the owner of this locker. And that was like hearing you say that, and then like seeing where you're at today with almost 250,000 followers. It's got to be surreal, right?
It really is.
That's a call to action for sure. I mean, that's awesome.
Brian and I talk about this all the time. I mean, there's points in your life where you come to like a crossroads and you have a decision to make, and you can make, selfish decisions, or you can make the best decision that you feel like you can make. And I mean, it seems like, and sometimes people don't even recognize those crossroads, and it's like, you've heard like the story, like the guy got to the golden gates and said, hey God, why didn't you ever give me the why didn't you ever give me the chance for this? Well, I sent you this, I sent you that, I sent you this, and you said no to all of them. you don't want to be blind to the gifts that you're given and the opportunities that come across you. And sometimes, and most of the time, the best opportunities are opportunities to help others. And it's like, kudos to you for having the ability to recognize the opportunity to help people and like to have that come back to you in the, I mean, in the form of followers and not only that, but then you've built on that and used that as a platform to help more people. And I've just seen your story. You went on and you did return, right? You ended up meeting the family, you returned the items, but you also made friends along the way. And then from there, you're able to build more friends and help more people, So, I mean,
it's really shrunk my world, like in a lot of ways, in the best ways. As the followers, like you said, we're at like 240,000 now, and that's inconceivable to me that many people would care, about anything that I'm doing. So in that way, it's gotten real big, but in other ways, it's gotten real small. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So there, and one of the most rewarding things this has done is given me the ability to help other people, to help people. And that's kind of been my filter for what I can take on. Sometimes I'm just like airdropped into a moment, and there's no real thought to be had. It's just go. But then others, I just have to stay aware, and recognize these opportunities when they present. And I was reached out to by a lot of people, but very few. And it's unfortunate to say this, but a lot of people are saying, I need help with X, Y, or Z. And then ever so often, I'll get one that says, I'm trying to help this person do this. Can you help me help them? And those are the ones I'm like, yeah. And the way you reached out to me shows our friends of our family, their brother, son, father had passed away. He was, and this gentleman, he was a trucker, and he was struck and killed by a drunk driver. He'd gotten out to inspect his trailer, and he was killed. And their family was dedicated to perpetuate gifts from Gene. So his name is Gene Culp. He's out of New York. And I love that. Because you can really take a very angry and vindictive approach. And I know some people in this family are angry, rightfully so, right? And I saw their family kind of resolve this, and they just wanted to help other people. So I was able to go to Babe's Fried Chicken. It's a staple here in Roanoke, and get hundreds of meals to be able to go give to other truckers, to kind of activate his family to say, cool, I'm all in. Let's get the momentum going. Let's do this. And they had already started doing some things, and that was awesome to see. And I shared that video, and I think if you're on my channel, the caption is "Gifts from Gene," and you'll see me and the young man from Babes who partnered up with me to give these out. And when I got all done, I got a message from a lady in New York, and she said, I was so sad to hear that happened to Gene. He was a great guy and a good friend to me. And I realized that we had a message thread. We had already been talking. Well, it's because her best friend was the mother of the 3 daughters who I returned the Marines' belongings to when I went up to New York. And here she is again, wow, in my path. And it's those synergies that it's so I don't know where your listeners are at on religion. Sometimes I don't know where I'm at. But some things are undeniable, and things like that are undeniable. Returning those belongings to the veterans' family, his 3 daughters in New York, and then having that one item left over with the name Billy on it, and coming to find out that Billy worked at my company at Toyota.
Oh, wow.
So I could actually return the one remaining item to his cousin. And that's one of those things. And you see that in the final episode of the Unknown Veteran series, because there's no other company in the world that I could have worked for where, you know, I would have been granted that kind of access and have them help me create this fake scenario to come interview the guy just so I can surprise him with a gift from his cousin, a fellow Marine who actually went into the Marines. He was inspired by the fallen Marine to become a Marine. And then to have the chance to sit with him and have him tell me about his sons who was battling cancer and was still, you know, set to serve and had his orders and was still going to follow through on that. So it was truly incredible. And I could stop doing things today. And I would have gotten just so much, and everything would have been right because of those moments that I was blessed with.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look up and I see the 240,000, and then I do feel an obligation.
Well, I want to comment on that a little bit because, you know, I'm a Christian and, you know, I don't expect all my listeners to be, but I would hope that they would seek out Jesus as their Lord and Savior and things. And, you know, I don't know, Andrew, if he's has really been a believer yet. So me as a military guy and a Christian to my buddy that's a civilian, that's not necessarily religious in that aspect. I don't know if I can speak on that behalf right now for Andrew, but some of the things that, you know, you said about your first story that really struck me is the adversary. You know, the person that was beating you up during that moment that you felt called because of the contents of that storage unit and what you wanted to do with it. And I'm sure that something was telling you to keep going. And I want to commend you for that, not only as a Marine, but just as a man. And that's the inspiration. That's the light that we're supposed to bring to the world. And what's so great about God and how, you know, the universe or however you want to call it or whatever you want to believe in. But with those things, more is shown when you sacrifice and you pick up the cross and you carry the responsibility like Jordan Peterson talks about. And you, at that moment, you knew you were responsible to do something and you did it. And the greatest thing is when God shows you, you know, the proof and how you just can't fathom how it plays out and how everything is connected and how, because of you went through that and you seeked, you shall find, right? You ask and it shall be given. And then you go from a couple hundred followers to now that responsibility because of who you are and how you proved it in your sacrifice, you're going to be anointed to be able to do even more. And I think that's amazing. I think it's so cool. It inspires me. And even as a Christian, I know what God has done for me. And, you know, blessed are those that have faith that have never seen, but it's amazing when you get to see and you know it. And I pray for that for everybody listening. I pray that for Andrew. I pray that for everybody because it's undeniable. You know what I mean? You don't have to see the clouds part and God come down, but it's undeniable that we're here for those reasons. And man, I know how you feel, how blessed it is to be a part of just one person's life. Like you said, I don't have to do anything else. Like, I feel like that was the greatest, you know what I mean? My job is kind of done in a sense because it's such a big impact. And I think it's awesome. And when Andrew found your story and he's like, hey, you got to check this guy out about, especially when it comes to the storage unit in the Marine stuff. Cause I've had the same thing happen with my mom through drugs and stuff like that, had her stuff in storage and I was 18 years old. And cut down some trees, got the money, paid $650
Oh,
back
wow.
back 22 years ago. That's $650 at 18-year-old. That's a lot of money.
That's a
And
car to a 16-year-old.
yeah, my first car was like $1,500, but that stuff got sold anyways. And that was all my siblings' baby pictures. And I wasn't wise enough to take that stuff out. Some people don't care. They just want to sell a quick fix. And I think it's so awesome that, we watch Storage Wars and all those other shows, and I've never seen one time where they ever said, you know what, let's try to get this stuff back to their owners. Out of every season of Storage Wars, I've never seen that. So like, I commend for who you are. And, Andrew did a great job of finding you and saying, this guy is exactly the type of caliber person we want on the podcast to be that righteous dad. And man, I'm excited just to have you on the podcast for the couple hundred that might be listening to it, and hopefully more. But I can't say enough.
Well, dude, I appreciate it. Let me say, I haven't done anything alone. And I learned a lot during that trip to New York and back. A lot of it came by way of, dude, it's going to be a tough episode to get through. Especially when I talk about this first mission. Well, let me rewind it and tell you, as I'm going through the belongings of the veteran and I'm trying to find out where this stuff needs to go, I've found information that directed me to the Marine's best friend, a guy named Jason Matsky. And Jason was living in Colorado at the time, and he got a call from me. And it's just, I've never gotten a call like this, like one of these out of the blue calls. It just changes everything. But I said, hey, I bought a storage unit, and it's got a bunch of belongings of a person I believe you know. And I told him who, and he's like, yes, that was my brother. That was my best friend. And he said we served together, and they were friends in and out of the Corps. And he dealt with the loss of his friend, who was ultimately succumbed to sickness. That was, he was in and out of the VA constantly. He was a victim of sickness from the burn pits, from Desert Storm, and said, man, he had it rough. But Jason, and this will tell you, who Jason is. I told him, I said, okay, do you know where I need to get the stuff to? And he goes, yeah, he's got 3 daughters in New York. And I was like, thank God. Okay. I was like, all right. And it was obvious to me that they didn't know I had it, He goes, I said, okay, well, I need to get up there. And he goes, well, I'm coming with you. And I was like, man, are you for real? And you see in those, I pick him up from DFW, probably 2 weeks later, maybe. We come to my house. He helps me finish putting together a bunk bed for my kids because Dad didn't get to finish everything before he was leaving town. And then we head over to the fire department, and we have a full escort out of town. And he drives the whole way because I want to capture the story and just absorb from him and stop and visit family. It was a lot, and I couldn't have done it without him. JR, the Marine, sent Jason to help me complete that. And when I got to New York and the mission was complete, Jason, he was prepared to drive all the way back from New York to Dallas with me, another like 1,500 miles. I'm like, no, man, I've got it. And so he flew back to Colorado, and it was then I stopped in Kentucky and made that one last trip to his cousin. But man, Jason was the reason I was able to do that. And let me say, Toyota, my employer, I said, I was changing roles at work, and I said, I can do this new job, guys, but I need a little bit of time. I said, I've got this mission I've got to do. And I was going to take off and use my vacation. And they said, no. They said, just go, do it. And they said, here is the executive Sequoia. I know you got some stuff to load up. This should carry it. And go ahead and use your company car for gas and hotels. And then one of the guys that worked,
shout out to Toyota.
oh, huge. And then one of my coworkers, he has an organization, Warriors on the Fly, where he takes veterans who are struggling to deal with, PTSD and other issues, and they take them out to spend some time in brotherhood, fly fishing. But he pulled out his credit card because one daughter was actually in California, and he said, I'm going to cover her airfare, and flew her out there. And so whether it's Jason, Toyota, or the community and the volunteers that, like with the donut shop, I mean, I had a whole crew on that. All I had to do is tell people what I needed, and they were there. And now that we're firing on those cylinders, it's inspired me to create an organization called Salvaging Humanity. And that's our goal, is to normalize bold acts of kindness, because I have no shortage of warriors. No shortage whatsoever. And originally I thought I'd buy more units and look for units to return. And honestly, the inventory is kind of low. It's kind of hard to come across those miracles, whether, recover, return, and restore. But with small business, that has had such an impact on people and the community. I think we'll have a chance to do more of that. So in my latest video, I kind of have a shout out, call to arms, if you will. And I've started collecting a lot of volunteers to help me do more of this. But sorry, this has been a long-winded way of saying thank you. But I have a lot of people to thank for everything that's kind of got us to this point.
So you got a question about the storage unit. So you talked about, trying to facilitate, some of the same things to happen again. Like, let's say for veterans, I know it'd be hard for just random storage units to be able to find people and stuff like that without giving out, personal information that the storage units probably can't necessarily do. But is there something that the storage units can do, like a flyer or something that you can have, or set something up to say, hey, if it is a veteran, at least at a veterans, I would imagine most people that are flipping storage units would be willing at most of the time to get, maybe if it's a flag or something else. I can understand if it's like I don't even know if they can store firearms and stuff like that, but certain things like M1A1 Grands, I don't know if they would want to give up, but, or swords or things like that, but at least, like a retirement flag or pictures or memorabilia, I would imagine. So.
Yeah, some of that stuff, it's courtesy. Again, if you have the courtesy to do it, a lot of people just throw it in the dumpster. And I've heard 1,000 stories from people saying, oh, thank God you were there. I lost, like you said, I lost family photos. I lost this or that because they just didn't care enough to at least even give it to the office at the storage facility. There's some stuff you're required by law. So there's some personally identifiable stuff. And then there's other stuff that's in your best interest, whether it's drugs, medications, guns, stuff of that nature. I think this is why it's important, because I have a full-time day job. This is why it's important for me to kind of get my team together so I can create a network with these storage unit facilities and say, like, if you have a veteran who's fallen on hard times, call me.
Perfect.
If you have a unit that and don't wait till it goes up for auction, because then I'll still at the bid, I'll still bid against other, but I'd rather get a hold of that person ahead of time and avoid that situation. If you have a unit I'll see them, they have like kids' beds and all the worldly belongings for a family. I'm like, call me. And there's really nothing you want to lose, tools, that's someone's business. And you can't save everything. But the veteran stuff, we can definitely kind of hone in on. So I think that's going to be one of the areas of focus. And I think you're absolutely right. There is some opportunity there.
Salvaging Humanity is the organization again.
Correct.
And you guys take like donations, you guys take, because I don't know if Andrew told you, we have a nonprofit as well that's helping veterans called No Lone Wolves. We're a 501c3. We just started. And so I'm really interested to hear, what what you're doing for veterans and stuff like that, and how we can kind of work together and doing the same stuff. So I'm very interested in that.
I would love to. I would love to talk more about that. And I could actually learn from you because I've got my lawyer drawing up the paperwork and doing the filings now. So we're early into the game. I posted the video I did to kind of the rally to arms just because I've had so many people reach out. How can we help? How can we get involved? And I've been able to raise money for the donut shop and other things. Now that I know I can do that and I've got the audience, people can help from anywhere in the world. I think that's the beautiful thing. And I can share it with them and the experience and the story. And so I think it's just, like I said, I feel now I kind of have this obligation, and knowing that I can do it, it's going to make it really hard for me to stop.
You're a facilitator, you know what I mean? So, and that's part of, you're facilitating all these things. And it's like, it feels weird. I know how you feel because I've done the same thing in personal lives or within other organizations where it's like, it's not really about me. It's not about them. I'm kind of this middle person that's just allowing people to kind of these things to happen. Like you're orchestrating, you're not playing any instrument. You're just the orchestrator. And that was one of the reasons why a couple of my buddies, I was a part of another nonprofit organization for veterans through online gaming and trying to fight suicide. And we had every Saturday we have a Salty Sailor Talk. Shout out to My Veteran Passion. It's a small nonprofit. They do good things and they get those people in order to build a community. And then that kind of inspired me to build the bigger one. So you're probably going after the long form 501c3. So it's the 40-page, I would imagine, right? It's the big one. So just like you had that moment of like choice, where how much are you willing to sacrifice was the same thing for the lawyer fees. It cost me $3,700 to, and I don't have that money right now. I'm about to retire in July, 20 years in the Marine Corps. So I'm like, well, am I going to lead this? Am I going to pull the trigger? You know what? Oh, well, I'll figure it out. And we did it, and we're still building. But it's what we really want to be able to do is reach out and have these network friendships, connections with people like yourself that are another facilitators. If we can get all these facilitators in this like neural network of great people, everybody wants to do great things for humanity and people. It's just certain people are those facilitators that show them how to do it or allow them the opportunity through this. You're being worked through, right? I kind of like the Holy Spirit is working through you in order to open these doors to show people what it's like and how they can do it. And you facilitate that, and then you move on, and then you go to the next thing. And it's really awesome to see and to meet you, first of all. And because I've seen TikTok videos, but now I get to, I see the emotion. I'm trying not to cry or tear up because if my wife watches this, she's going to be really mad at me because I didn't cry during my wedding and I didn't cry during the births of my children. And if I start crying, you know what I mean, in front of Karridy, I think it'd be kind of like a, hey, what's going on? So,
yeah, don't let me get you in trouble.
But I've had goosebumps like 6 times, you know what I mean? So,
oh man.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I truly believe that, like, and I can't, whatever you call it, God, the universe, whatever name you assign to it, the one thing that I do recognize is that there's always opportunities, there's always crossroads, and it's always, and then what it boils down to is just making decisions. And I find that people that make non-selfish decisions are the ones that make the most impact in the world. And you're able to do more for others, and then it really does come back onto you in some way. And it's like, but you're not doing it for the recognition. You're not doing it. I mean, like you said in your video, I don't have the money for this, but I know the right thing to do is to find the person or the family of the person who all this belongs to. And it is crazy how it's just snowballed to the point where that was the first video, and you go all the way up to your most recent videos, and it's like, hey guys, I'm helping this small donut shop revamp the front of their storefront, and all the people that were helping you were just people that that clung to you along the way, from the first video down to your last. And it's like, like you said, you have people reaching out to you saying, hey, how can I help? How can I help? So I think it's smart what you're doing. And I was looking at your page earlier today, and you created that platform to say, hey, this is I want to volunteer, or I can donate, or but you're actually you're compiling a list of people who want to donate, and you can figure out how they can help. So then you can utilize those as arms of your mission, your plan, and what you're trying to do. And then you come across, people all the time that need help, and you have the ability to recognize when somebody needs help. And like, talking about Crossroads, man, one that was like super impactful for me was the video where you just by happenstance came across a domestic violence situation. And that if that's not like a proof of, somebody putting you in the right place at the right time, I don't know what is. But like, tell us about that story. Where was that part of the traveling to New York, or was that something that happened local?
And you're about to get the exclusive on this. I've never been able to tell this whole story. I probably won't be able to tell it without losing it again. So I want to make sure I tell this in the right order. So we go to New York, and we come back. I believe we come back. And or maybe I went to see Santa before we went to New York. So there's a Santa involved here. At Cabela's, they have just an awesome Santa. And we had this moment, this exchange. And again, why did I pull out my phone and record this? I don't know. But I had it, and I was recording it. And Santa had the wherewithal to kind of pull my fiance aside and say, okay, young lady, what do you want? And he's trying to give me the hookup so that I know, and I have no excuse for not knowing exactly what she wants. But then he talked to the kids and did the same thing. And he said, at the end, he kind of did a little sneaky prayer, He said, remember, Christmas, we wouldn't have Christmas without Jesus. He is the reason. And he said it real fast. I could tell he's gotten really good at getting that in there. And it was just cool. It was cool. And a moment later, he says to me, he goes, he says, you probably like to feel better for Christmas. And I said, no, I always sound like this. Because I have one vocal cord, the other is atrophied from surgeries I had as a child, and I made the joke. I said, unless your elves can give me another vocal cord. And he goes, well, I'll tell you the truth, Santa needs a liver, and he said he was on the list, and I could just tell from looking at the guy, it wasn't because of life choices. And come to find out again, it was because of exposure. He was a Marine, and he had served for quite a while. And again, that it was just a divine interaction. And then I remember it's before I went to New York or after, but about a week later, it was just on my heart. And during that period, I started to do research about liver transplants. And guys, why there is a donor a wait list, I have no idea. It's like the starfish organ. If you don't know, you donate a piece, right? And it's within a couple of weeks, you have 100% function. And within like a few months or a year, you have 100% of your organ grown back. You're left with a scar and some downtime. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but that was more than what I needed to hear to know that I could help this guy. And I feel like I've been put in that moment in order to do that. And so one night I'm just thinking, and it's almost 9 o'clock. And I just gotten back from New York. So I'm like, I got to go. And she's like, oh, what now? You just got back. And I'm like, I got to go. I just, and so my mission was to go to Cabela's and talk to the manager, find some of his coworkers so that I could see if they could hook me up with his doctor on the down low. Let's do the test, find out if I'm a match. And then I could tell him. It was really an ambitious mission, but I went and I talked to the manager and they're like, you couldn't have picked a better guy. I'm like, he picked me, you know? I said, but we got to find out if I'm a match. And so I got their number and I'm leaving Cabela's and I'm in my car, in my wife's 4Runner, my company car. And I'm like saving a video because I was videoing myself when I come out and I'm like, hey guys, I'm working on something. I just felt called to do something. I don't know. I'll tell you more later. You know, it's just some B-real footage. And in that moment, guy hauls ass past me, his truck, just, you know, rolling call, whatever the kids call it. And I was like showing his ass. And I thought maybe this young kid just got off work. But then came back around and he made a beeline for this girl. And that's where the video starts. So if you're on my profile, there's a video that says, this is how it happened. That's how it opens. And it's from that moment. And I can see he's making a move towards this girl. He gets out of his truck, still running, he gets out of his car, starts approaching her. She's walking away. He's carrying something. I can tell if it was his gun or he's on the phone. I couldn't tell from my distance. So I pull up, I screech my brakes, my tires, just to, you know, stun them in the moment, roll down the window. I said, get in the car. I yelled to her. And they both started coming over and she's like, will you give me a ride home? I said, absolutely. Get in the car. And I know he's going to try to engage me. And so I'm kind of keeping the window rolled up and she gets in the car. Thank God he leaves, gives her the opportunity. She gets in. She's like, just go, just go. I tell the kid, I said, hey, I'm doing you as much a favor as I'm doing her. Okay, I promise. And that wasn't a threat. That's like, you're about to screw up your life. Let me get this girl home. Unfortunately, he had been drinking. I could smell it on his breath, and it was confirmed later. Well, when I told him, no, she's not going with him, he starts to run to his truck, back to his truck. And I knew right then we were going to have a pursuit. And she tells me he's going to chase you. And I'm like, yeah, no. And we start to pull off. And man, it sounds like a brick hits my car. And in a millisecond, I knew that wasn't a brick. And you can hear the realization. I'm like, did he just, he just shot my car. And he's firing a 9mm into the side of the door. And it hit the passenger door. Fortunately, I turned and it didn't go through the door because it would have hit her. It would have hit her. I turned and it kind of indented the door. Like it didn't break the panel on this 4Runner. You know, thank God.
Wow.
You know, and I kind of want to do some research because
it should have. Yeah, that's not normal. Yeah.
That's why I feel like not only that, okay, well, I'll go on, I'll double back. So I made the turn and I tell her, call 911 and you can hear me just hauling ass out of there and she's crying. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. The cops end up getting there. He ends up taking off and they go to find the shell casing and there's a shell casing and there's a full round on the ground. And the cop says, he goes, yeah, he goes, the first one jammed.
Mm.
He goes, that one that just barely didn't make it in there, that was the second one. He's like, the first one would have made it in there. And it's, again, just one of those things. It's just undeniable, you know. And in my video, I'm leaving Cabela's and I say, guys, I think I may have the opportunity to, I said, we try to change lives. That's what we want to do. I may have the opportunity to save a life. And I'm like, this is what it's all about. And I said, just stay tuned. And I was going to put that in the archive. And it turns out the life that I was there for that made me walk out of the house grab my keys at a moment's notice right before they close. It wasn't for Santa at all. And I think Santa would have been perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not necessarily looking, you're looking, but sometimes God works in that way where it's not what you think and it changes. And I think the biggest thing is, no weapon from the enemy shall prosper against me, for he is with me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And you're being protected. And I just pray that you continue to be protected like that, because when what you're doing there, the adversary is there. I've had a moment like that. My first deployment to Iraq, where in Al Taqaidam in the Sunni Triangle, we're doing Kazbak missions, casualty evacuation missions. So we're on like an airfield base where we're getting mortared and rocket attacked. This is 2005, which was kind of real close to the main invasion where a lot of this stuff was going on. And I had 107 millimeter rocket land 10 feet from me, and it didn't blow up. You know what I mean? EOD came out and pulled it out with the chain in a Humvee and stuff and said, yeah, it wasn't armed. So one little switch, and it's almost like the same thing, that jam moment. Was it really not armed? Did the other side actually miss a step, miss a procedure, or was it, that I was being protected? And I never felt more protected. I was already a believer, and a Christian, but shortly after that, I was baptized real close to there, because everybody called me the Blessed One. They're like, hey man, like my seniors are like, hey, you should be missed. How did you shit yourself? You know what I mean? You change your underwear. Like, it doesn't that mess with your head? Like, you should be dead right now. But, I had a calming peace. There's other mortars that landed and blew up that kind of gave me a little jumpiness, but I never felt in danger. And if I did, I had my faith that I was there for a reason, whether politically you believe what it was right. But sometimes when you're putting those positions, you feel like you're supposed to be doing something like this, but actually you're there for other reasons, whether it's your testimony, whether it's helping somebody else. But that main focus of like, okay, God, I want to help people, and just send me down the right path, and being open to listen is huge. So that's amazing. I mean, a 9mm I would think would go through a door ballistically. Like, we see, the new Tesla truck, the Cyber truck and all that stuff. Normal cars are not built like that, but this was the Toyota 4Runner.
Yeah. At 15 yards.
That's a big, that's a big marketing plus for Toyota. I mean, I don't know if that's a right campaign to run, but man.
Yeah, I think it was tough, because at that time there were Toyotas all outside of the front of Cabela's, like demo cars, because they were doing some partnership. Toyota Financial Services is actually the bank that finances all of the or underwrites all the credit cards for Cabela's. When you go in there and they hit you up for the credit card, it's because that's how they make their money. So they have a real good partnership. I don't think I was the best advertisement, especially when you're in the parking lot as a victim of gun violence. So,
but that's just amazing that you were there. And I mean, I wasn't sure exactly where that happened on the timeline, because it kind of falls on your TikTok channel. It kind of falls between updates for the New York trip. So, but I think that was probably just because you hadn't finished editing and posting. So I thought maybe that happened on the road trip, and I was like, man, what's the odds of that happening? But I mean, still, after hearing you tell the story, that's even more remarkable. I think
you're like a special agent for God, man, doing great things. You're getting shot at. You're doing all these things, and it's awesome. And it really is like you even dress kind of like Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible. You kind of got that look to you, man. Like, yeah, you got the Marine voice, and you got the Tom Cruise look. So I think God's picked a good warrior.
I thought you were a Navy SEAL, man. You listening to your voice. I know that you said that's something you've had since you were a kid, but you sound like somebody that would be on the Jocko Willink podcast.
He's built different.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. And that's a comment I got after I posted that video of that incident. Was everyone's like, I told you he was Batman. But I have to ask Andrew, hey, what celebrity are you told that you look like?
Oh man, I get Vladimir Zelensky a lot. I don't.
From Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to consider him a celebrity, but
I'm never gonna. Yeah, I'm never gonna look at you the same.
yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking?
I'm getting Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Hold on, I gotta look this guy up.
Oh
who?
man, Will Wheaton.
I get Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers,
I can see it.
Oh
I
yeah,
can see it.
yeah.
or Jillian said I look like Sean Strickland from the UFC a little bit, or who's that wrestler? Orton, Andy Orton or something. I don't know.
I get Sal from Impractical Jokers.
I've seen that.
I've been trying to figure out who your celebrity doppelganger is this whole time. Will Wheaton. I'm trying to see what his. Yeah, I'm looking at his IMDb right now. I don't think I've seen any of his stuff. But yeah, I can kind of see the resemblance a little bit.
Can I ask you how old you are?
Me, I'm turning 37 this month.
Okay, this might predate you, but he was in Star Trek. He was in the movie Stand By Me as a kid. He was, I think, was he Gordo in Stand By Me? Also, who is the Reddit? Alexis Ohanian. I think you may look like him as well.
Stand By Me. That's a movie I haven't seen in a while.
That's really funny,
right?
I never thought about you looking like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I don't really like that, man.
But now I can't unsee it.
But yeah, look up Alexis Ohanian, Ohanian. He's married to Serena Williams. He's one of the founders of Reddit.
Okay.
Kind of guy.
Yeah, I've seen this guy before. Yeah, he was on Jimmy Kimmel show one time. Yeah, I guess it's the beard. The beard kind of makes me look like a lot of people. I think it's just a beard.
I think you're better looking.
A beard and a big nose.
I think my wife says the beards are for those that don't have a strong jaw or strong.
Oh, 100%. That's why I grew it out, man.
That's true. So I shaved it too. I shaved it too close this time. I regretted it immediately.
Yeah. That's one thing I couldn't for years at my company. We couldn't have beards, and then they changed the beard policy, and that was the first thing I did was grow a beard out.
Well, they talk about No Shave November, and my wife, Jillian, so she's like she hates the beard stuff. So here I am I'm 40 years old trying to grow a mustache, and my wife comes up to me and she's like, "What's that shit on your lip?" Like, and I just felt emasculated, and it was like 3 days, man. I'm like, it's like what I have right now. It's like so super small, and she's like laughing at me, and she goes, "Well, if you're not going to shave, I'm not going to shave." And quickly, she was beating me when it comes to the mustache, so I had to make some decisions, man. I was like, I came back to the Marine guys, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" And I was like, "Dude, my wife was like punking me." It's so funny, like that's just how it is. So yeah, for me, I'm still waiting to hit puberty a little bit. So maybe it'll be one of those things where I'll get to see.
So you're afraid to cry on here, but you'll call out her mustache, no problem.
Yeah,
you're brave, man.
Brian's sleeping on the couch for the next.
Well, Marines are courageous. They're just not super smart all the time. So.
Yeah, I can't grow one of those full beards that some men are blessed with. It looks like Andrew has no problem.
Oh no! I'm right there with you. I got this Joe Dirt thing that happens, and it doesn't connect right here. So I gotta, I gotta kind of like shave my beard to kind of just go along with the little bald spots that fall in there.
Andrew looks like one of those one of the avatar characters that they give you when you're trying to get into that. It's like picturesque, perfect, like everything. He was clean shaven last night, and then it's just
overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked like a homeless guy when I woke up this morning. I had to clean all this up. I had to get it looking good. But yeah, man, it's been a great great episode. I'm really glad that we finally got together. I know we've been talking for about 3 or 4 weeks now, ever from the from initial contact to finally getting you on the podcast. I hope this is not the last time we get you on, and I'd love to continue the conversation and get to know you better. I definitely want to. I'm definitely interested. I know Brian is too. We're definitely interested in partnering with you in any way that we can. Um, with your organization and our organization, maybe we can do something together and lift each other up. You know.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same. I would love, the opportunity to collaborate and enable each other in whatever way is presented to us. So yeah, absolutely. And yeah, keep me in the rotation. I'd
Oh,
love to
for
come
sure.
back.
Yeah, for sure,
And
man.
it seems like we could do this for hours and hours for your stories and stuff like that, and just
I have a list of things that I was going to talk
yeah.
about, but I kind of want to save some for the next episode, the next time we have you on. You know, but for sure, like I said before, Brian and I, we didn't we didn't start this channel for any other reason other than, I mean, to lift other people up, and it's not to clout chase or anything like that. We legitimately just wanted to tell our story, and then, I mean, obviously that's going to run out really quick. I mean, how many episodes can we do about ourselves? And
I don't think we have an episode that
yeah,
really
I mean,
talks about
no,
ourselves.
we never actually did an episode about ourselves, but you do see a lot of people on TikTok, who are talking about, do this and do that and do that, but they haven't accomplished anything in their
Yeah.
life, So, but for us to give a platform for people who are doing the things that we aspire to have and do, to who are the encompass the type of man that we want to be, and give other people a platform in order to tell their story and their background and what they're fighting to do and what they believe in, and just talk about, I mean, the struggles that they're going through as a father, um, in doing so, our hope is that, obviously that'll give us a broader audience to be able to reach and be able to help more people. And, and then from there, we went on, we started a nonprofit, and, our goal is to help people and to reach as many people as possible. And again, I mean, you're 100% in line, and you're walking the walk, and that's what is most inspiring to me. And you're the kind of guy that I want to be around. you know I mean, they say, you are the product of your 10 friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I've heard it said different times. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10, but I mean, regardless, you are a product of the people that you put yourself around, and you're definitely the kind of person that I aspire to be. So, thank you for coming on our podcast today, man, and thank you for everything you're doing. I mean, you're doing the right thing, and it's just lucky for us you decided to pull a camera out and record it, and for no other reason than to just document the story. I never, and I think I've watched all your videos more than once, and
Oh,
not
wow.
once did I ever get the impression that you were clout chasing or even chasing followers. You only mentioned followers one time on your channel, and it was only because you were trying to get your message out. I never got the impression that you were trying to build a channel so that you can make more money, and nothing like, but and you can tell a fraud. I mean, we hear frauds every day on TikTok and YouTube, and they're just doing gimmicky things to try to get more followers, to get a lot of views. And I never get that impression. I legitimately feel like you're doing things just to help people, and you're documenting along the way. And that's inspiring to me, because that's really the type of man that I want to be. And so, thank you for everything you're doing, man.
Man, that's high praise. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate the validation that it's coming across as authentically as I would hope that it would. So what I found is you you know you do have to care about followers.
Mhm.
If you in marketing, we had this saying, you, you got to be good and loud, and it's, if you want, and for me, it's really more about being able to inspire and perpetuate bold acts, and I can't do that without a following, but you have to go about it, not even go about it in an earnest way. I truly believe that, like you said, if you just do the right thing and put the right foot forward, if you build it, they will come. I believe that wholeheartedly. Um, and so that's been awesome. But I've learned is people don't give a shit about me, right? They care about, they care about me as a person, but what I've enjoyed is really getting behind the camera, where the only thing you see this in my last few videos, you just hear my voice, and I'm able to really make it about the people. And as I get better at being a better storyteller and a better video editor, I can do that. Before, I thought I had to lead everybody through, and that didn't feel very comfortable to me. So this transition, it really plays to that. And I would inspire anyone, if you're thinking about doing a podcast, or thinking about sharing something on TikTok, get comfortable being uncomfortable. You'll never regret it. I did this whole mind map when I was deciding, did I want to start a podcast? And I've got kind of a false start. I need to get back to and get the other episodes up. But it was like, why do I want to do this? Well, I want to do it to work on my ability to communicate, because I've always had this voice my whole life. So I'll never be one of the great orators of our time. But if I can get comfortable having these types of conversations, it will help me. And if I make great connections with great people like yourselves, mission accomplished. Everything else is gravy. And it gets you, out there, but sometimes I really think this voice that I've struggled with my whole life, maybe it was also, I would have a distinguishing characteristic, so I could tell these stories, show these people, and I wouldn't have to put my face in front the whole time. I wouldn't have to have my face on the screenshot of every video. No shade to Mr. Beast or anyone else, because they're doing amazing things. Beast Philanthropy is an incredible organization. I just don't feel that comfortable. But with this voice, it's given me the ability to be, on the other side, which has been one of those other weird realities. But no, man, I really, really appreciate what you said. And I can't wait to, hopefully I'll have a chance and you guys are willing to be activated and we can do something incredible together. I think that's why we're here. I think that's why we're talking. 100%. And I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. Can I do one thing for you, brother, which is kind of different? I haven't done on any of the other podcasts, but I want to say a quick prayer, if you don't mind. And I don't know what your religious stance is, but is that okay?
I would love that. Thank you.
All right. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for today. And thank you for Karridy. Thank you for making men like him, men of action. And I just ask a special protection that you'll just protect him for all of his future walks. I know he's doing a lot, and sometimes when he's doing those things, he can be in danger's way. And I just pray that you will protect him and then lead him to where you need him. He is, like we said earlier, a warrior for you. I truly believe that, and I'm truly blessed. And I just want to say special thanks. And I pray that in the future, we'll be able to do things that just show people that they can do things for others and lift each other up. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
That was awesome. Anyway, I just wanted to say one more thing, man. I was listening to what you said, and I think, you mentioned, and I've heard you say through some of your videos, somebody commented and made a nasty comment about your voice, and you did a response to it, and you said, hey, look, this is the voice I was given. I'm not doing this on purpose. It's just the voice I was given. And then you made the comment, I may never be one of the great orators, but I disagree with you there, because I think your voice is very unique in of itself. And there's nobody I know that sounds like you. There's maybe I mean, on the Jocko podcast, one of the guys on Echelon Front, he kind of has a voice that's very similar to yours. I mean, I think just from being in the military, but I think when you tell your stories and you're narrating, you have a very unique. I mean, I would listen to a documentary with you narrating it 100%. But like,
Well, Jordan Peterson talks about the strengths and the weaknesses.
yeah,
or
your
perceived strengths and
struggle
weaknesses
becomes your
of the-
story, and then this is something that I can tell that you've dealt with since you were a child. But honestly, man, you've got a very unique sounding voice, and I mean, I'll put you up there, with David Attenborough any day, man. I mean, like,
Bro.
I'm telling you, man,
That's-
and then you've got 240,000 followers today, and that's just a drop in the bucket in the number of people that you're going to touch. I'm calling it right now. You're going to have multi-million, followers in short order. You're going to get to 1 million a lot quicker than you got to 240,000. I'm telling you right now, by the end of the year, you'll be at 1 million followers, so, and we're, today is, what are we at? Today is January the 7th. So I'm telling you, by December 31st, you'll be at 1 million followers. And I can just see, I see it happening, like,
All right, guys, y'all heard it here.
Certain people fill cups, right? So like for me, it's not even about what you're doing to even be on the podcast, but just the conversation fills my cup up. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? And that's a genuine thing. And I really, there's no, like what Andrew's saying, there's no limit to what you can do. And it's just, it's the hope. It's the, how do we get it out there? How do we get the genuine people? And it doesn't even matter the people that are doing things on TikTok, whether or not it's genuine or not, it really doesn't matter in a sense, because it's on the person that's receiving it. You know what I mean? What are they taking it as, how it helps them? Just because that person, even the sinners and the bad people, good can come from that darkness, that light, you know what I mean? The light can come from the darkness. So, but when it's genuine, I think it's awesome. And I just thank you. And I thank Andrew for getting you in here. And I think it is divine. I think it is supposed to happen. You know what I mean? So, I hope that you continue to have, the resolve and the courage to pull the trigger on those things that will cause you to sacrifice more in the future, and never shy away from that, and listen to that internal dialogue that says, hey, go do that, because it's going to get even harder for you. I'd say, Karridy, is like, how it is. The next steps now, you're like, oh, I did all these things. Now that next leap is going to be more. It's not going to be easier. You know what I mean? And I know I'll be here if you need somebody to help motivate you, because we all need that as well, even those that are inspiring everybody else. So feel free. You can write down my cell and all that stuff, or change. I'll be here anytime, man. 2 a.m, 3 a.m. That's part of the No Lone Wolves. That's part of our stuff, is, that men should have these conversations to make change. And I know you want to make change, and you know what I mean? I just look forward to it. So I look forward to building a friendship with you for sure, man.
Totally. Man, you guys got me all juiced up, man. Thank you.
Well, yeah, man. Hey, get out there and keep it going. I'm curious to see what the next chapter in the Taylor's story with the tattoo removal, man. I can't wait to get some updates on that.
Yeah, no, and I'll give you one. So Taylor is going to have those face tattoo removal sessions for another year and a half. When you see those videos and it looks like it's erasing it, it's rather misleading, honestly. What it's doing, it's pulling the moisture. The laser is penetrating the skin. It's breaking apart the cells and the ink so that the body can absorb it and get rid of it. It's not pulling it to the surface. It's just making it vulnerable to let your body do what your body wants to do. It's advancing the process. But in doing that, that moisture, it does kind of fry that up and brings it up. And so they call it frosting. But when it does it, it covers up the ink and it looks like it's gone. But she's got
I had a tattoo removal, and it takes 3 or 4 times, 5 times, because right there it looks like it's white. And
And the deeper the ink is, then the more sessions you need. So, well, give Taylor our well wishes, and all the people. I love watching all the things you do, man. And what you seen, was a guy's name for Whataburger. What was it?
Ashton.
Ashton. That's right, Ashton. I mean,
Stole
all
the
those
juke.
stories, man, all the characters in your stories, man, it's awesome seeing all that stuff. So, but I'm rooting for you. Brian's rooting for you, and I know there's about 240,000 other people that are rooting for you. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and if I can be of service to you and your people, engage me, activate me. I'm here for you.
Definitely, man. And definitely, and again, thank you for taking the time out to be on our podcast. I know this is a Sunday afternoon. You have your kids. I've got my kids. Brian's got his kids. So, I mean, I know you had to make some arrangements to be able to have some time freed up for you to sit down today. So I'm glad we finally got to get it done, get together.
I was looking forward to it. I appreciate the invite, and I'm happy to be here. And it's to be able to spend time with you, gentlemen. It's more than I could have hoped. So thank you so much.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding from the words I spit. So sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts peeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. And I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens.